Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Daly City Planning Commission meeting of June 6, 2023. So we're opening the meeting, and may we have a pledge to the flag. Would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May we have the roll call, please?
Here.
Here.
Here. Thank you. And now we have the minutes. I'd like approval of the minutes of May 2nd, 2023 Planning Commission meeting.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's move forward. And so now we move into the public hearing. Our first item, Michael. Michael, you're in a different chair. Very good. So Michael will be presenting. It's a major subdivision. Do I need to read all the numbers? I'd be happy to. Go ahead. Yes? I'm seeing yes. Sub 0521-01547, use permit UPR 0521-015048. Design review DR 0521-015049, and lot merger, lot 0521-015050, for construction of a 7-story mixed-use condominium building on currently vacant lots at 2321 Geneva Avenue. The applicant proposes 167 studio units and 18 one-bedroom units. In addition, the project will include 2 commercial spaces on the ground floor, totaling 3,682 square feet, and a parking garage accommodating 82 parking spaces. And I'll turn this over to Michael Van Lockhuizen.
Thank you, Commissioner Perrano, members of the Planning Commission. We're just getting that presentation.
Sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, this is a request for the construction of a 180-bedroom condominium building on 7 vacant parcels on Geneva Avenue. 2321 is what it's addressed as. This is actually a vacant parcel. It's got an old parking lot on it, but it's largely vacant down by Pasadena and Castillo Avenues on Geneva Avenue. Castillo Streets on Geneva Avenue. The project requires a use permit, design review, a major subdivision for a condominium map that was submitted, as well as an application to merge the lots. Here's the location of the project. A small portion of the project is within the city of San Francisco. The applicant is aware, there's a condition of approval, but they need to coordinate with the county surveyor in San Francisco for the condominium map portion of that. But the jurisdiction, the zoning jurisdiction for these lots, they are San Mateo County parcels, lies with the city of Daly City. For that reason, we're holding a hearing tonight on this. So this is the photo of the site. Again, like I said, largely vacant. There's a old parking lot. I believe this is an old grocery store that was here quite a number of years ago. It was vacated and torn down. For some context, across the street to the south is the Cow Palace. To the east are commercial and office uses. So this is Castillo Street on Geneva Avenue. This is the residential neighborhood that exists to the north of the project site.
Discuss something.
So the, use this instead. Oh, okay. No, that's a nicer one. The rockstar. So this project is a 7-story mixed-use condo building on 7 vacant lots, 167 studio units and 18 one-bedroom units, 185 units total. 34 of the units would be affordable to low-income residents. There are, again, it's a mixed-use building, so at the ground floor are retail office spaces. There are 2 such spaces on the ground floor, totaling about 3682 square feet. We do have some conditions of approval that relate to making those 2 commercial spaces actually rentable upon the completion of the construction of this building. That's sort of been an issue where the spaces are left and a lot of TI, tenant improvement work is needed, and so we've added a condition on that. The project also proposes a parking garage that's accessible from Castillo Street, which would accommodate 82 parking spaces and 197 bike parking spaces. These parking spaces are in a Klaus lift parking system, so they're in a machine that basically moves the parking spaces around, and that's what's needed for this, because otherwise, to get any significant number of spaces, there'd be a lot of excavation work that's needed. The applicants proposed 2,726 square feet of private open space on balconies and about 5,200 square feet of common open space on the roof of the proposed building. There's also, again, a lot merger to merge all those lots together for a single project. This is an architectural rendering of the building. We do have a condition of approval that to try and accentuate the building a little bit more. We'll go over that in a minute, but essentially this is what the building would look like from the different angles. This would be looking to the northwest on the top right corner, and on the top left would be essentially, this is Geneva Avenue and Castillo Street. So this building height, and we're going to go over this in a moment, is higher than the C1 zone normally allows, but state density bonus law allows for concessions on this project as well as a density bonus also. And these are things that are built into state law that allows the applicant to construct the building to its intensity. And there's some detail in terms of the explanation in the staff report. The applicant's attorney has also written a letter that explains it, and we've tried to make it as easy to understand as possible, even though it's fairly complicated. So this is a site plan of the building. As the Planning Commission will note, this building essentially covers 100% of the lot. That's allowed in the C1 zone, 100% lot coverage and no setbacks. And we have a lot of buildings that are built that way in our C1 zone, and this building's no different from those in terms of the lot coverage. The applicant would be completing street frontage improvements. In fact, I believe these are going to be bulbed at the intersection now. But anyway, we have a condition of approval that relates to completing public improvements similar to what occurs at 2665 Geneva Avenue. And we're trying to continue that streetscape at this location as well. Public improvements would not only be on the Daly City side, but on the San Francisco side as well. And the applicant's aware they need to, coordinate with San Francisco Public Works on Pasadena street improvements. This is the streetscape plan, which again just communicates the public improvements. This is the first floor plan, so the parking garage, this is it here, and the Klaus lift parking system is accessible again from Castillo Street here. I'm getting some mouse lag, but it's basically in this area here. These are the retail spaces. There's one at the corner of Castillo Street and Geneva Avenue, and the other one's at Pasadena Street in Geneva. And there's also some commercial space and leasing areas that are internal to the building, also facing Geneva. So one of the nice things about this project is that it does present the retail and office uses right at Geneva Avenue, and the parking's tucked behind to the rear. This is an internal parking lot, so there's structure above. So the upper floors of the building are the residential units themselves. Again, studios and one-bedroom units. We didn't have a slide for each one of the floors because they're very, very similar to each other. This is the rooftop plan showing the open space at the top. We have added a condition of approval that the applicant approve this to an extent where it actually makes it usable. We would like to have some sort of a screen here to prevent or to act as a wind barrier, for example, for residents if one's not proposed. So we mentioned some architectural revisions we've added as a condition of approval, and we've discussed the revisions with the applicant, and essentially this is kind of just a quick mock-up of, or not a mock-up, actually just a bit of redlining, if you will, of where additional roof overhangs would be added to the building. And the applicants indicated that by the time of the city council hearing, which will follow the planning commission hearing, that they'll have a rendering of what this would look like. But essentially what we're looking for here is just additional architectural interest in the form of roof overhangs at the first, mid, and top floors. The applicant added this corner to the building to try and provide some a focal point to the building. We think that's something that's important, especially at a corner. And they did so facing the Cow Palace, but the architectural revisions that we've recommended as a condition of approval would provide additional cantilevered architectural features where the red lines are shown to provide additional visual interest. So in the staff report, there's a pretty lengthy zoning evaluation of the project. The primary things that we look at when we have a multifamily building, well, and actually the first thing we look at is parking, but that's not the order that it's in. Lot coverage and setbacks are, also another thing that we pay attention to. There is no lot coverage regulation and there are no setback regulations in this project, so that's kind of an easy box to check. The applicant, in consideration of the fact that there's a residential neighborhood right to the north of the project, has provided a 6 foot at the west property line step back on the 2nd through 4th floors to reduce the mass of the building to the adjacent properties, which are again 2-story residential homes. So this is a large building going back next to single family houses, and even though as we'll explain, the bulk and mass of the building is allowed per the Daly City Municipal Code as well as state law, we did, and the applicant tried to be respectful to some of the adjacent neighbors that are right next door and have much smaller homes. So the proposed building with that would be constructed 7 stories at a total height of 83 feet from its highest point near the Castillo-Geneva Avenue intersection. So even though there's a 36-foot height limit in the C1 zone, as Will explains, the state of California has a density bonus law that allows concessions that allow a height of this magnitude, provided the applicant demonstrates, and the applicant has demonstrated this, that it makes the project feasible to construct the number of units that are allowed pursuant to state density bonus law. So that's kind of a mouthful, but essentially what we're saying is that state law essentially allows the sort of intensity on this parcel. The off-street parking allowance, which we have another slide that provides a little more detail on this. The city zoning ordinance, strictly speaking, requires 206 parking spaces required, but 82 parking spaces are what are provided in the parking garage, 78 in the Klaus lift parking system. Again, this is a reduction of actually just a few spaces. If we take, it's not just state density bonus law, there are a number of laws that are affecting the parking here. But we're gonna stick primarily with density bonus law, and it requires a certain number of parking spaces, and we have another slide on this pursuant to that law. The open space requirement would normally be 27,750 square feet. The applicant's proposing about 7,900 and is requesting a concession for this, so a 19,000 square foot reduction on that as well. It is notable that should this be built as a condominium project, that the city would receive park in lieu fees as a result of that. So there is some mitigation to that in the form of park in lieu fee payment. The density bonus provisions for the project, so the staff report references state density bonus law throughout the staff report, and essentially we've tried to boil it down in this slide, but there's a provision in state law that in zones such as the C1 zone where there's no maximum permissible density, state law says that you need to look at the zoning regulations that are in place that would establish what the base density would be. Given the 36-foot height limit, the setbacks, and the coverage, how many units could you build just with the current zoning regulations? And the answer that the applicant came up with and the city staff concurred with after reviewing the applicant's proposals is 139 units. So that's their base number. So based on the base number, the housing division required that 28 units be affordable to housing whose incomes did not exceed 120% of the area median income. So that's what our city's inclusionary housing law says, that you have to provide 28 units. The applicant said, well, we're actually going to provide 34 affordable housing units, affordable to families earning up to 80% of the area median income. So the number of units is higher and the level of affordability is greater. And so the proposal represents a 24% overage of the 139 unit base project, which state density bonus law then says the project's entitled to a 50% density bonus, allowing up to 209 units. So state law, because of the level of affordability and the exceeding the city's affordable housing requirement, says that there's a density bonus increase allowing the 209 units. The applicants proposed 185 of these 209 units. As part of density bonus law, state density bonus law, the law says that the applicant is entitled to 3 concessions to allow the project to be constructed at the affordability levels that the applicant is seeking in conjunction with the city, and to achieve the number of units allowed pursuant to state density bonus law and the city's zoning requirements. And those 3 concessions are increased in floor-to-floor height allowance, the reduction of the parking requirement, and the reduction to the open space requirement. So those are essentially the 3 concessions that are requested. So the last checkbox, which is a lot of words, but is essentially the explanation of the parking reduction sought, is that according to the state density bonus law, projects providing at least 20% low-income units that are located within a half mile of a transit stop can reduce their parking requirement to 0.5 spaces per unit. We looked at this similarly on a project on Sullivan Avenue, so the Planning Commissions and City Council have seen this sort of a reduction before. When this parking factor is applied to the subject project, 93 parking spaces are required for the proposed units, plus 12 for the retail, for a total of 105 parking spaces. The Daly City zoning ordinance allows a further reduction of 20% because it's a mixed-use building. So the total parking requirement is 84. The applicant is proposing 82 parking spaces, and so a 2 parking space concession is requested by the applicant. So even though, while it may look like that a lot of parking is required for this project, there are reductions built into the California law, as well as the city's own zoning laws, the mixed-use reduction that allow, or bring the requirement all the way down to 84 parking spaces. This is the proposed condominium map that was included in the application. This will be refined in plan check further prior to a map being recorded in San Mateo County, as well as the portion in San Francisco County. So that is something that we do need to show you. The staff report requires that the Planning Commission and the City Council make subdivision map findings. We won't read through each one of these, but essentially the Planning Commission would be finding that the proposed condominium maps, consistent with the intensity, that the general plan intensity that's sought in that area, as well as will not injure the environment or create serious public health problems. These are codified type of findings that are included in the Planning Commission would have to make them, as well as the City Council. The project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, so there's no CEQA document associated with this. California law says that if you're going to redevelop any project that's served by urban infrastructure on 5 acres or less, consistent with the zoning ordinance, which this project is, as we've explained, that you actually don't need to do CEQA. The applicant has therefore not completed a CEQA document, nor have we required one, so it's exempt from CEQA. City staff's recommending the Planning Commission affirm the environmental assessment and recommend the project to the city council for approval. If there's any questions you have, we're of course happy to answer them. The applicant is also here, as well as the attorney representing the applicant, and I believe a consultant or two that represents the applicant.
Michael, thank you, and thank you to your staff. I think I'd like to start with just, did I miss how large these studio and one-bedroom apartments or condos going to be?
We may have that in the staff report. I don't remember that off the top of my head. The applicant probably knows.
What has, and also, I don't want to throw too many things at you, what has the response been for the neighborhood?
We haven't received any formal comments from the neighborhood on the project.
I mean, looking, if it was me, right, looking at the space and then imagining a building there, the only thing, there wasn't a art rendition of what the building would look like next to housing. Was there? Did I miss that? I could have looked down. I didn't think I saw it, and I looked here. Just curious, because to imagine 7 stories, that's a lot of space.
So this is probably the best thing we have. I'm not sure if this is exactly what you meant, but this does show the building in some context of the adjacent, I believe they're 2-story houses.
And they did lighting to see if the building would block lighting or cause wind or any of that?
They didn't do that. No.
They didn't do the lighting?
The city staff didn't require it, and they didn't complete such an analysis.
For the lighting for the homes? Yeah, because I would be concerned, I mean, any height, but if normally we'd see 4 or 5, we're talking, you said 7? 7 stories, and then there's housing. Although when I was looking here, when you see the houses, the building is kind of away from the neighborhood, if that sounds right.
It's
Kinda-
stepped back a little, yeah.
Right? I would be a little concerned about lighting. I would be concerned about wind. I would be concerned about the height next to housing. If there wasn't housing so close, I think it's a great idea. It's not as beautiful as some of the buildings. I'm sorry if the architect's here, but it's not as beautiful as some of the buildings we've been, of condos and housing that we've received. It looks a little like a hospital.
Right, and we wanted to provide some additional articulation on the building, and that's why we're requiring, we do think that some of the cantilevered features that we're requiring where the mouse is will assist with that. We'll also see those on the west side of the building here, trying to get, again, some additional architectural interest.
Is there a lot of pigeons in that neighborhood?
There's pigeons everywhere.
No, I'm just curious, because, I mean, they come and visit where I'm at, where we work, and lots of pigeons. I could see them deciding they want to be living or sitting on those edges. And so we don't know the size, and you said we could ask the size of the units, and then there's public transportation right there on Geneva, so I'm also hearing 84 parking spaces with 184 units. One person, a couple, and how would 84 parking spaces minus what a couple for the businesses, or how many for the businesses, how could that cover 185 units?
Well, everybody's not gonna have a parking space, that's pretty clear, yeah.
So, I mean, and these are condos, so this is not rental, it's not a rental,
It's not as currently proposed. The applicant could change it to a rental project. There's nothing that says that they absolutely have to build a condo project, just to be clear about that.
Right.
As a matter of fact, we built in the conditions of approval that should that happen, they'd have to amend their affordable housing plan in agreement with the city.
Got it.
But we made some changes to the zoning ordinance that removed the concept that owner-occupied housing requires more parking spaces than rental housing some years ago.
Sure.
So,
And then storage for the condos, that is, I mean, thinking that they're, I don't know what the size are, but I'm guessing they're small. So storage, like, sometimes people have it where their car, but this is not a car space for each person.
That's right.
Right,
It's
so,
on the lift system. There is not garage storage for the units.
and we didn't receive any correspondence or any communication from the neighborhood?
We received a question from a San Francisco resident about the project, but there was no communication as to whether they were for it or against it. I'm just, wanting to know about tonight's hearing.
So I'd like Ray or would anybody like to ask some questions with regards to this project?
I would like to make a point of inquiry here whether Velasco Avenue and Pasadena Street is still Daly City.
Excuse me again, what was that question, Ray?
Yeah, they're part of the city.
Portion of it, it's San Francisco.
There's a small, what is it, a fourth?
Right.
No, an eight, one, two, what is that, 1/5 is in San Francisco?
I'd say about that, yeah, maybe a little less.
So, do we have any issue here?
No, the San Francisco zoning ordinance actually itself identifies that parcels that aren't San Francisco County parcels or San Mateo County parcels and subject to San Mateo County zoning, in this case, the city of Daly City.
Because anybody will have to require for a permit, right? And if it is within the boundary of San Francisco, then the owner or the builder will have to get another permit from the other. I don't know what is the procedure here.
No, because the zoning discretion, whether to allow a land use is, so if you look at the San Francisco zoning map, there's no zoning for this particular parcel. It
So
says
we don't
zoning-
have any issue here.
No.
So they're gonna go with,
The map needs to be approved by the San Francisco County
So
Surveyor's
that's why
Office.
it's a parliamentary inquiry. I would like to know because the owner might not be aware of that. So we have to be sure of that, right? And also the comment of our Madam Chair. To me, I have always been advocacy of economic growth here in Daly City. In fact, if we can amend the ordinance or the height limitation, because we don't have any more place here or any vacant outdoor space here in Daly City. So the moment my advocacy is to go up, vertically we have to grow. In Daly City, we don't have any more space on this. If some people are dreaming that they will lose their height, their view, or they will lose their sunlight, forget about that because this is a growing city, some sort of metropolitan area, just like if you are going around from here to Menlo Park, you will notice that most of the buildings are not growing up, 14 stories. Just look around. Even in South City, you will notice that there's a big building they have built 14 stories, 10 stories, even in
I haven't seen that. So I've
well,
gone,
you have to see it because
I've
you have to
been
go
through
around because normally I go around.
yeah, I do,
before.
I did.
So this is only my concern.
Sure.
If we can probably repeal that.
Well, in fact, Commissioner Satori, the city right now is working on zoning revisions for the entire C1 zone on Geneva Avenue and Mission Street.
Not
That would
only
essentially-
in that area, but entire Daly City. We have to
That might be a little tougher.
That might be a problem.
we have to revise the so-called general plan
But
because
the-
this is so-called how many 40 years ago? We are growing. We have to grow.
Well, the state of California agrees with your sentiment, Commissioner. That's why we have the state density bonus law. They passed laws that said you only have to provide a half a parking space for every unit if you're within a half mile of transit. This project is. There are a number of concessions that are allowed. The state has set up laws, even if we didn't amend the CMU general plan designation in our C1 zone. The state of California has itself mandated that cities basically provide the density allowances that we, for example, have described in this project.
Yeah,
What school
that's my
district?
concern also.
What school district this will fall in?
This is in the Bay Shore Elementary School District.
Okay. You know,
If
in the
you'll
Bay
just-
Shore community, they're suffering from not having any grocery store there. I rather see that building be a grocery avenue for, you know, the community on that side. I enjoy the fact that we're trying to build, and we can build, we'll never touch heaven, we'll never touch the sky. But it's a need, but at the same time, we're filling up our community with people. At the same time, we're going everywhere to spend our dollar money yet because we're lack of what we need that comes with human beings, like hospitals, you know, clinics, schools, and food. So that's just my little concern about the project.
And Commissioner, to address that concern, this project does provide some retail space at the first floor. There is a concept out there that buildings could be constructed like this by right without any provision of retail space at the first floor. But this project actually does provide 2 commercial spaces, but yes, not to the size that a large grocery store would be provided. That is true.
Right.
I did want to mention that.
Yeah. Also, I think this building's a little too tall, a little evasion of privacy for the neighboring neighborhoods, for the houses. Also, like, the parking, was there any study done? Like, no, because
No.
that's like 100 cars put around. Pretty sure there's already no parking already.
Yeah.
So it's very
No.
difficult. Yeah.
The way that we calculate parking is using the zoning ordinance.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
start
yeah,
with
yeah.
that, and then we,
Yeah,
there's a,
exactly.
like, Kenneth
No, I
has
remember,
explained, yeah.
And I do jump on that one is we've heard about parking over and over. And by building a building not only larger than we're used to, be that they're following the letter of the law, I would be concerned for the neighborhood with regards to people trying to figure out where they're gonna park. And as much as we'd say, you rent or buy, if it's a condo or if it's a rental unit, people have cars. And yes, younger people do use Uber and mass transit, but BART, there's no connection to BART close by, is there? From Geneva over, not really.
I'm not that
Not
familiar
really.
with the bus line, as it goes to the Geneva. or
What
the
I was
Balboa
gonna
Port.
make a mention is, if it was, then people say, I'm gonna walk and catch the bus and go to BART, let's say, and get to work. But when you have, and you're authorizing a building of this height, and which means people and accommodations, and one is parking. And as long as I can remember, parking's getting worse and worse. And now, in the old days, you couldn't park in your driveway sideways, and now 2 cars park sideways, they fill in their yard, garden, and they put cars there. And I've seen them off of Westlake, if you go early morning, and they're literally half on the sidewalk. In old days, you get a ticket. But people have to park their cars somewhere. So that's my concern. My concern is, although they're following the rules and the law, I don't know I would recommend that we do a study at least on the parking situation so we don't burden the people that live in the neighborhood. Granted, Geneva is more of a business section, so it's kind of like the cusp. So those houses kind of touch into that. This is much nicer than having an empty lot. It's progress. I am concerned about the height, but that's something that I personally, and so I'm just saying that. But I understand, again, that the client here is following the lay of the law with regards to parking, with regards to height. Again, by the time we get started on this, and I'm glad also that even though you said could be different rules, that there is going to be some sort of retail, so a, sort of a grocery store or whatever it is, that could help.
Sure.
How many people, you know what I mean? It potentially can have 300, 400 people, even though it's a one-bedroom, most of it, so that's the concern.
There is a small grocery store across the street and down a ways. And it's somewhat untrue that there's no grocery store in the area. And there is a grocery outlet's also on Bayshore Boulevard, a little further away.
A little
of course,
further, yeah.
But, yeah, there's no large grocery store in this neighborhood, that is true.
Anyway, so if we've all voiced our thoughts and opinions, I'd like to, I see some cards waving, and I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the project, and so at this time, if we could open the public hearing, if there's any cards, if you'd like to submit them, please. Sure, absolutely. I'm gonna put my glasses on, or my cheaters on. And I don't wanna mess your name up. Is it Shamamoy Pink? Shamari? Yes. Come on down. Shamari lives on Santos. You're a private resident, and you're close by, I'm guessing?
Yes,
To
very
the-
close.
how
Good
close-
evening, Commissioners.
How close are you to the project?
Block,
1 block?
yes.
Okay.
So we're right by the liquor store, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have 2 minutes. You'd like to
Thank you.
proceed? Absolutely. It's a timer.
So I'm all for housing and more housing on a block, but I feel like 7th floor is quite a bit the height. And as you know, you already mentioned the ratio of the room itself to the parking. It's a problem. Cow Palace has events all the time, and we could barely park. And, I'm sure the people who want to build that did not consider the visitors to the residents. I mean, how can you park like half? You follow the rules of the law, but you're not considering the neighbors. Each household have at least 3 cars. So imagine the people who's going to move into the building. They're not going to have 1 car, and plus the visitors. So put that in consideration for sure. Other thing I'd like to bring up, historical part of the Geneva Tower. I don't know if you're familiar with that, drugs, crimes, all that stuff. So the more people come in the neighborhood, tend to have more problem as well. Other thing, that I would consider is traffic congestion. That's a major route right there, Geneva. It's a route to everything, freeway and everywhere. So please consider that as well when you build 7, stories. It's going to be a problem. Other thing like I want to put in consideration here. So I covered the historical background of the large building that we used to have on the San Francisco side, and which was a major issues. And I know the commissioners had brought up a lot of the issues of not having stores and so forth. So please have this continued conversation and keep that going, because we would love to have more building, but we sure don't need 7 stories.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Again, it looks like Russell Marine? Sir, sorry if I messed up your name.
That's pretty good. Maureen.
Okay. And you are on Gellert, so are you
Gellert.
close by?
I'm in Visitation Valley, but I'm not on that block. So, but
Okay.
so my time starts. I first heard about this about a week ago on Nextdoor. Gentleman here posted on Nextdoor. He saw the sign on a telephone post. Given social media, given social media, the reactions. You have your NIMBYs, you have your NIMBYs. Some people say build it, build it, build it. Others saying, well, this is too tall, it's too big. It's, out of proportion with the neighborhood. My position is like saying yes to everything is just as bad as saying no to everything. This one needs some thought. You haven't heard from the community because a week ago, nobody knew about this. Nobody knew about this. I've never seen these guys before. They're the developers. I've been in the neighborhood for 20 plus years. I have a planning background. Never seen you guys. Have you had any meetings with the community? That says a lot. You don't have to rubber stamp it. They use some creative ideas to kind of get to these numbers. They're creative. I give you credit, they're creative. But zero lot coverage, 100% lot coverage, no open space. You asked about the size of the units. The largest unit is like 650 square feet. That's one bedroom. There are no 2 bedrooms. There are no 3 bedrooms. There are no laundry facilities in this building. They're all single family studios. If you look at those pictures, put a bed on the diagram and see how much room is left in that studio. They're tiny. What's the largest studio? Not even 500 square feet. They're smaller ones. They're like 350 square feet. Tiny closets. I support housing on this site. I think it makes sense. I do not support a 7-story building. I think if you can take some time, tell them to come back, talk to the community, find out what we can live with, what we can work with. Build housing, build the retail. Don't build a 7-story building with a brick wall with a 2-story building right next door, no open space. Real quick, the shadow study, no shadow study. That's going to affect some folks. Who's going to live there? And I'll say thank you. And hopefully just tonight that please don't rubber stamp it. Give us an opportunity, put the word out to the rest of the community, and you have more than 3 people here tonight. I guarantee it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Our last card here has Rothanak Pratt Austin. I should have been able to read that. Welcome. And you are, do you live nearby?
Yes,
the
I live
project?
around the corner on Santos.
Okay.
So I was not notified of this project. I was just walking around my block like a week ago. I saw the sign and I put it on next door. I've been talking to all my neighbors. They're all like, why is this building so tall? Why haven't we heard about this? I'm also running a project down on the end of Pasadena, making a park there. So the overall consensus has been that the building is way too tall. The hill right next to it, the block has a hill on it. So the lighting from the building would go straight into those backyards because it's not a flat surface, it's a hill. And also there's a huge wind tunnel effect in that area. Also in terms of the aesthetics of the building, it doesn't really fit the neighborhood at all. I think it could do a lot better. But I am in support of some housing, and especially the grocery store, because to get to grocery outlet, it takes a long time, especially if you don't have a car, and especially not carrying all those groceries back. Yeah, I think we need to talk more with our neighbors to figure out how we can conserve the neighborhood better. Also, the studio size is really concerning. And like who are these studios for? And the percentage of low-income housing, especially because this is a poorer neighborhood, and there's a lot of people that could be served by this that aren't being served by it. I think thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming. So if we have no one else who'd like to speak on this subject, I'd like to close the public hearing. May I have a motion, please?
I motion to close the public hearing.
Let's vote. It says vote. Second the motion? Okay, we got a second. So all in favor in closing the public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, there we go. I know, I got that. I got it. So, I didn't start listening to this proposal with the thought of making a recommendation. So I'm going to make a recommendation. I'm going to give you my thought. My thought is the community needs to hear more about it. I think that there should be a meeting. I think that the unit sizes are too small. I don't think it would serve the community. I think the building is too tall. You could do a 5-story building. 2 stories might, 5 might do it. A little larger, some 1, 2 bedroom, more open space and parking. So that's my personal recommendation, and in looking at what I'm seeing, but the biggest thing is I am saying on my own behalf that I think that the community needs to be involved more in this project. I think that there should be a light study, which we have done on other projects. I think that the aesthetics need to be more in line with what we've been doing recently, talking about how beautiful buildings are going to be. It's going to be in our community. It's going to be there for many, many years. And most importantly, that the community can embrace this project. I think we need housing. I think that what we're looking at is something that they've done in other countries where they're building very tiny little spaces and just letting people put their head down, sleep, and go to work. I don't feel that this is a community type of housing, and my own opinion in looking at it, I think we do need housing. I do think we do need retail. I think it's a move in the right direction, but I think if we do this and we recommend it and it goes through, that it's going to hurt the community. That's my personal opinion.
Well, Madam Chairman, in any society or any community or any country wherein there is some development or changes, there will always be some adjustment to make. If we have been living about 30 years, 40 years in Daly City, and we think that there will be change, you should adapt that to change. Some people hate change because it will affect their everyday livelihood or take their activities. But to me, as I would say, active in developmental or growth process, we have to accept that. We cannot just say, we don't want that. My view will be lost. But you know, in this sphere wherein a lot of changes are happening, look at South City. Their surplus is 48 million, whereas for us, we are even having a hard time balancing the budget because we do not have much economic activity, Your Honor. That is why we should adopt this kind of attitude wherein developmental process must be adopted. We cannot just be speaking about ourselves or our family, but we have to speak also of economic growth and development of the city. That is my process, Your Honor.
And I agree that housing is better than what the lot looks like at this point. I agree. What I'm saying is that I believe, I may be wrong, that the developers didn't take into consideration the neighborhood and the people. A developer comes in and builds and moves on. The people have to live with it. They have to live with the space. They have to live with the parking or lack of parking. They have to live with who moves and lives there. And yes, we should build. Yes, we need housing, but I don't agree that it needs to be 7 stories, even though that the state allows it. I don't believe that. I've gone by buildings in South City, and most of them are 4 or 5 stories at the max. Those are the ones that I'm seeing. There are some close to Airport Boulevard that are so tall that the wind factors, and it's all the way to the limit, and there's just no open space, there's no feeling, it just feels like tall mountain buildings. So all I'm saying is to take into consideration, I know that to make money as a developer, you need to have so many units and be able to make so much money to make this a project that you make. And I understand as a developer and a builder, that's one thing. But we have to look at what happens the next 30 years or 40 years or 50 years, the people that live in the neighborhood. That's all I'm saying. If you'd like to, I'm just recommending we revisit it, kind of talk to the community, make it a more friendly kind of environment so that you leave a project in a city, in a neighborhood, that the neighborhood could be happy with. That's all I'm saying.
Well, anyway, Your Honor, in as much as we are a quasi-judicial body recommendatory, it is the city council that will finally
Absolutely.
decide on this. So I move, Your Honor, that we recommend this and forward the city council for the following recommendation. Adopt the finding as you outlined, Yuri. I so move, Your Honor.
Well, before we move on that, I'd like to speak to the developers and see what they're thinking. So would you like to step up?
Hello. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, community. My name is Lamar Zhao. Jeff Fu and I were the managing partners of the property owners here. I think there's a lot of things that were considered in developing what we presented. We spent a lot of time with various city departments to kind of make sure everything makes sense in terms of regulations and so on. And I just want to say the idea or the concept of smaller units, it may appear to be we are trying to maximize the space for the purpose of trying to develop the max potential of a project. We should try our best to do anything for any project, right? And part of the Bay Area housing shortage is because of affordability and a lot of different issues. And we felt that by making it smaller, it becomes kind of more affordable. I mean, we can make it 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, but I don't think it'll be as attainable for a lot of people to be compared to a smaller space. So by making these sizes, everyone gets their own kitchen, their own bathroom. I think someone made a comment. There's no washer dryer, but I think there is a washer dryer in each unit. That's the background. We try to maximize the space, but it's to provide everyone actually their own privacy. So we're not having a lot of people in like San Francisco where they kind of sublet like split up bedrooms into 4 different tenants sharing a kitchen and sharing a bathroom, and we're trying to give everyone their own space who's a smaller family or a smaller family to be able to use the space. So that was the concept on it. In terms of parking, like you said, we kind of ran through the numbers and the requirements. I think the general trend of the Bay Area is actually reducing the amount of parking and the parking requirements. I think that's the general trend of California too. Part of it, I think, will promote more people to use other means of transportation. For biking, we're providing 190-something bike parking spaces, promoting more use of the transit. There's a major transit stop. I think it's about half a mile away that they can use to get to the third street rail and the BART up towards 280. So, having said that, it was nice to hear everyone to hear the comments, but that's basically where we're coming from. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that. Matthew, this is part of my team.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lamar. Pardon me, I got a bit of a frog in my throat tonight. All the comments that we've heard tonight are well taken. I do land use consulting for a living, and we've created a really difficult environment to build housing in. When you take into account the cost of land and the cost of borrowing money and the cost of construction, by the time you're done, the types of projects that you would like to see built here don't make financial sense. You can't get a construction loan. You can't build it. That's why it looks the way it does. I don't want, I know this isn't going to be a popular comment, but it's important to take this into account. We could have gone taller. We could have wiped out all of the parking under state law. We don't have to provide a single parking spot under state law. It's a transit-oriented development project, right? It is anticipating where land use is headed, and it's leaning into that trend. There are not as many parking spaces for cars as you'd like to see, but there are an insane number of bicycle parking spots in this development, right? There's bus service on Geneva. There's going to be more bus service on Geneva. The Cow Palace across the street is going to get developed. This is going to be a dense corridor with a lot of commercial and a lot of residential in the not distant future. That's what's coming. This is the first building, but it's hardly the last. There's going to be a bunch. That's what's going to happen out here. We've tried to be sensitive. We could have gone taller and we didn't. We could have gone all the way back to the back lot line and we didn't. We could have gotten rid of all the parking and we didn't. We've tried to, we haven't had community meetings with folks. We haven't gone out and knocked on doors. We haven't done a shadow study because we're not legally required to do one. And the city couldn't make us do one, so it's sort of, you can't condition us about it, so it's kind of a nullity. Same thing with wind. The state has made decisions that are intended to facilitate development like this. That's a policy decision that we're not making. We're just following what state legislators have said, this is what we're going to do to try and solve our housing prices. We're really mindful of all these concerns. We anticipated them. I mean, we knew that this wasn't going to be a popular project for folks that lived nearby and particularly to the north of it. But we've tried to do what we could to shape it to take account of those concerns. We haven't been deaf to them. I really want to make sure that that gets out. We have to find some way to build housing given the constraints of what we're actually dealing with. We can't talk about what we'd like to see. We have to talk about what's actually buildable. And this is buildable, but to be honest with you, it's barely buildable. The margins are really thin on a project like this. This is a tight site. I know you don't believe me, but I get it. That's okay. But anyways, I just wanted to put that out there. Like we have to find some way to build housing. The city has a really large number of housing units that it has to deliver to meet state law coming up. This is part of how it's going to do that. This is how you create thousands of units. There's no other way. Anyways, I just want to put that out there.
What are you
Yeah.
planning on selling each unit for? I hear it's going to be low, but what is, if it's going to be condo? What is the selling price? You guys have to factor that in.
I'm not a real estate broker. I don't know about the pricing of it. I know what the, I look at it in the context of a pro forma and sort of how much money there is, at what point the ink turns red to black, right? That's really the question that I'm focused on. Lamar may be able to give you more articulation about the particular price point. I don't know that we have that this is a pretty dynamic residential market that we're all in right now, right? I mean, the world looks a lot different than it did 4 years ago. I think the assumptions are less stable than they used to be, but we anticipate that this project is still profitable and buildable at this density. If we took off a floor or two, it would not be. You have to build at this density in order to get the economies of scale that make it possible, or else it keeps looking like it does today.
And exactly what I had said in the beginning, you heard my comment, which is I'm assuming that you guys are going that high because you have to be able to build it. I understand that. What are you anticipating on selling a unit?
I don't, I think it would be largely driven by the market, right? Obviously, like whatever, depending on what the market is at that time compared to now, but,
Actually, it's determined by supply and demand and the location.
supply and demand location, but what, part of what Matthew said about the buildability, a big factor is because in the Bay Area, we also have a high level of construction cost to build, sometimes relative to other places. And it'll be a factor of that. It'll be a factor of what the market holds. To be honest, I don't recall exactly what, it does kind of depend and vary, but I think it'll be relative to the per square feet price in that area for say, a new construction or a fairly new one. So it'll be that, depending on how big each unit is. If it's, a 400 square feet or 500, then you kind of use that to formulate what the market price would be.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Have you guys even circled the whole Bay Shore? Have you guys been around the whole area there? Because there is a mid-pin, there's another development that it's coming soon for right on the other side on Sharin, that it's coming really soon. And the same problem that we're dealing, and the reason why I'm knowing that, because I'm also a member of the school district, the board members over there. And we're suffering the same thing with parking. Parking is going to be terrible. I heard you saying that you think that it's going to have a laundry in there. So to me, as a resident or a community, the word think is you're not sure if that entity or that amenity is going to be happening. I think you guys need to rally up the community, and if you want to do that, you can come to the school district, and we can host a community forum there, or for you guys to introduce what the project is, what you're going to have there. I know that you're speaking from the consulting point of view, but would you live there? Would you live there if that is built?
I have 3 small children. I can't live in a
Right, so this is only built for what, It's going to be very overpopulated there. Granted, I need the money there for the school district, we do, because you will be paying some developer fees to us. But the whole layout, maybe we need to start figuring maybe lowering down to 5. The mid-pin housing that is going to happen there, it's lower down, it's not even 7, it's 5.
But Mid-Penn gets housing tax credits. They're a nonprofit developer. They operate in a totally different financial
But they're
model.
human beings living there, they're not robots.
I understand your point. I think there's another part of this, though, that it wasn't that long ago that I didn't have 3 kids, and then I didn't have a job like this. And I was looking at studio apartments. I understand where you're coming from, but there's another sector of the community here. This building is not going to sit vacant, right? There are a lot of people who need housing, and they will live in that housing happily. It may not be the housing for you, and it may not be the housing for me. I totally take that point. But there has to be a broader mosaic to how we handle the housing crisis than that. We can't do it with single-family homes. We can't do it with low-slung buildings, and we can't do it with all 3-bedroom units. It's just not possible. There has to be a mix. If the whole world was developed with studio units, I would see what you're saying, but it's not going to be. That's what it takes to make this project work on a small site, a really tight site. It won't be what it takes to make every project work. We're not Mid-Penn. We don't have access to housing tax credits. We don't, that's a subsidized project. That's subsidized with government money, federal housing money. We don't have access to any federal housing money. We have to go out to the open market and raise money in the...
Actually, Your Honor, the example is op. It's entirely different.
It's a completely
entirely
different financial
entirely
environment
different.
to work in.
It's not relevant.
They don't.
It's not pertinent to what we're discussing, Your
Well, I
Honor.
mean, the fact that there's another building there that looks like that is pertinent. I mean, I can see how, if you're not in the business that I'm in, you'd look at that and you'd say, well, they're doing it. How come you can't do it? I'm just trying to explain why. They have access to a really large amount of federal housing tax credit money that we can't access. We cannot access it. We're legally prohibited from accessing it. We could rearrange that policy, right? There's a lot of high-level policy decisions that have been made they're far outside of this room, in Congress and at the state legislature, that drive a land use development pattern that plays out in this room. If you want to change the way that works, from my perspective, where I sit, the place to focus your energy is at the policy discussion. Mike was saying that they're going to be doing a housing element, or sorry, it's the land use element of the general plan I'm imagining, or a
Commercial
zoning.
mixed-use zoning district.
But that's the place to plug in. If you want to change what land use planning looks like, you have to go further upstream than this. State law has actually, we haven't talked about it, but it has precluded the degree to which the planning commission or the council can frustrate the development of this particular project based upon the issues that people are talking about. It's limited the number of hearings that you can have. It's limited the number of criteria that you can apply. It has reduced, it's actually eliminated virtually all of your subjective decision-making around design. You don't have the discretion, and I don't mean to, I know this isn't a popular sentiment, so I know I'm gonna get.
No, we
But
heard
you-
this already.
This is not the place to play out that discussion.
know.
The place to play out that discussion
saying-
is at the point of the
Right.
zoning update.
What I would just say to you is this. We sit here on behalf of the community. If we didn't tell you what we thought, we're not doing our job.
I totally get it.
That what you just said, 100% true, because I just went to a planning commission, we did. We sat there, we heard it, and we argued as well. So I understand that. But I could not just sit here and go, because that is not what I'm doing here. I'm here to speak for the community. That our hands are tied as residents of City of Daly City should be a concern to the residents of Daly City, that you need to talk to your legislature. We need to start saying we don't like what they're doing, because it's absolutely true. Our hands are tied. Our hands are tied.
I take your point. I was a city attorney for 10 years before I came to private practice. I've been in a lot of rooms like this, but I've been up on the dais, and I've been advising folks like you. I would, since we're having a discussion about it, I would just offer one more layer on top of what you said. I actually don't think, given where we are in the policy discussion and in the housing crisis, that there is much of an opportunity, realistically, to reduce the density or intensity of development that's coming. I think the question is, where do you put it? Not whether, but where. That's the discussion I think you can have at a higher policy level that will actually bear some fruit. But you have to put it somewhere, because the state's gonna make you build thousands of units within the boundaries of Daly City somewhere. And the only way to do that is to go up. To Ray's point.
Yeah, no. As we-
Sorry, I also want to say, like, I'm really sorry. I know this comes off as a lecture, and I don't mean it to. I don't want to, I would hate for this hearing to drift in the direction of wanting to lean into subjective decision-making that you can't actually make legally. It would be really frustrating, I think, for all of you to start going down that road and then to find that you can't. And I also wanted to make sure that I think it was in the presentation, but it wasn't the leading point of the presentation, just that we really have made this thing smaller, tighter. All the parking that's provided is voluntary. All the car parking is voluntary. Like, we're trying as much as we can within the bounds of the economics we're working in to take account of the neighborhood. We didn't just come in and go.
Actually, Your Honor, you're right, because we're talking here about density bonus law, which means you really have to act when the housing should be done, because we have a very limited space here in Daly City. We need it. I remember when I was in Boston, I live in this kind of, this density bonus law, one room, just to stay there for, not all of us will live in that area for so long. It will just, more transient, could be 6 months, 7 months, 10 months, because of the location. The location is very near the city.
Right.
That is why we're talking about density bonus law. We're not talking about the regular housing, which is 1.2 million is average in the Daly City, and up to now 2 million. I forgot to bring here my public policy on housing in California, because in different area we have different kinds of location where the prices are different, and make of the make of the housing is entirely different. If you want really keep peaceful and quiet, you can go to Tracy or go to Yosemite and stay there, but peace and quiet. See, you know what I'm saying?
You gotta
Although
be able
they're-
to get to work, though. That's a
although-
long commute.
They're having to build a lot of affordable housing too.
That is why we have the
everywhere.
density bonus law. Thank you, Your Honor.
And no, and thank you for explaining that. It is 100% true, and unfortunately, with the new laws and the new regulations and everything that's being voted and what's coming down the pike, it's gonna be even harder, unfortunately. But anyway, I appreciate you explaining, I appreciate comments. It's more important that we do ask and that we do speak, because again, that's what we're supposed to do,
Absolutely.
right? So, appreciate, anybody have any questions for them? No?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
I have a motion here, Your Honor.
Yes, you do. Okay. So, hearing all that, I know you all heard, I know. What can I tell you at this point? Okay. So we have a recommendation at the Planning Commission forward to the City Council the following recommendations to adopt the findings as herein within. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I made a motion.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Affirm. I see it. I see it. Sorry. I just feel like we're not doing our job, and we're being forced to do something.
Well,
I'm gonna move.
Your Honor, there's nothing personal here. I always speak myself. I always talk. I normally speak this way, you know, whoever you are, whether you're the president of Russia or president of...
Why do we participate as citizens to do this if we have no voice? Why do we come here tonight? All we want is more time to talk. We can do this without them. We just want to talk with them.
Well, the good thing about us moving it to the council is that you can speak. No, so you can speak at the city council, okay?
You saw what they're gonna do.
I know, but we can't,
We want to talk with them in the community.
exactly, right. No, so if we move to the city council, then you can show up at the city council meeting and you can speak there. That's probably the only way we can move it forward.
Why?
Because we can't put brakes on certain things the state of California doesn't allow us to.
Madam Chairman, can I? Your Honor,
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't, we can't. Okay, yeah. So we're gonna move forward on this, please, and if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to attend the city council meeting. Okay.
Why waste it? Why waste more time?
I'm sorry. Adopt the findings as herein within. Could we have a motion, please? We had a motion,
I motion.
first and second.
second.
Okay, can we have a vote, please? All in favor to move forward, to adopt the findings to the city council?
Fa'apua?
No.
Paniza?
No.
Satori?
You made the seconds. You made them. That's okay.
Oh,
Yes.
sorry.
Roano?
I'm gonna say yes, so we got 2-2. So if we have 2-2, can we move?
Yeah, no matter what the planning commission does, we can push it.
Still,
Okay.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We're just
So the affirm the environmental assessment. And approve, am I reading 6 now? Approve major subdivision. Use permit, subdivision, sub 0521015047. Use permit UPR 05210504. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, did we go down to the permit in number 6? We didn't do number 6. And lot merger, lot 0521015050, subject to the conditions of approval outlined herein. And that's where I had to finish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
This is the entire project, no longer the findings of the environmental assessment. The commissioner is now voting on whether to move forward to the council.
yes, that is correct.
Thank you for the
Yeah.
clarification. Roll call.
Okay. Fa'apua,
No.
Paniza,
No.
Satori,
Yes.
Proano,
Yes.
Parliamentary privilege, Your Honor. This is a process wherein all projects for public hearing for the gentleman here is we deliberate on this. We have a cacophony of information coming out for or against. Sometimes we are against for it. We cannot be emotionally charged here. We have to use our more or less objectivity. There is still a process. This is a process, Your Honor.
Can we move on? Can
I'm
we move on
speaking.
to the
I'm speaking, Your Honor. Please, please. Please. You should remember. You should learn how to respect how when somebody is speaking.
Sorry.
Okay.
You're
You should know the parliamentary procedure. When somebody is speaking, please keep quiet. Okay. You should know that.
Okay,
You should learn the parliamentary procedure correctly. Okay. I'm just through. I'm just speaking to the door. You can still go to the
Have some respect.
council if you want really to have some any kind of information. Or you best thing is you can write a letter to them. Thank you very much.
I don't think we can do that. We already closed the public comment. I do want you, no, I do wish to encourage you to write a letter. And, you know, if you have some comments and speak, if you're able to speak with the planners, the architect, and at the end of the day, unfortunately, and it's the truth, there's some things the state of California is pushing, and it's housing.
I understand, thank you, and I apologize for the
No, I'm
Okay.
sorry, I got upset.
Accepted. Apology accepted.
So let's move on. Our second is Sam Fielding Use Permit, UPR 122015498. Sorry, apologize. Design review.
I got it, Sam.
DR 0722015775 to construct a new 2,480 square foot restaurant with drive-through at the northwest corner of the St. Francis Square Shopping Center parking lot, 79 St. Francis Square. As people who recall, on the last meeting, we did discuss this. We had a long conversation, but it was postponed to this meeting. So at this time, Sam, if you'd like to.
If I could just interrupt real
Yes.
quick. I just wanted to introduce Sam Fielding.
Yes, welcome.
When did you start this? October. In October, but this is his first presentation to the planning commission, so we are very happy to have him. He's taken on some fun projects.
Welcome, and I'm not
Welcome
always
in.
so weepy. It just,
Yep.
it's a tough one. Huh. Yes, thank you for, and welcome.
Thank you.
All right, can people hear me? So, good evening. Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes. Good evening, Planning Chair and Planning Commissioners, Planning Commission members.
The item before you this evening is a request for a design review permit and use permit for a new restaurant and drive-through located in the St. Francis Square Shopping Center. Let's see, how does this work? Oh, there we go. So the proposed restaurant and drive-through would be located on the northwest corner of St. Francis Square at the southeast intersection of St. Francis Boulevard and Southgate Avenue. And you can see on the slide here where that's located at the star is where the proposed restaurant and drive-through would be. The subject property is located in the neighborhood commercial zoning, in the neighborhood commercial land use designation within the Sullivan Corridor Specific Plan. Again, the project proposal is for a design review and use permit review and approval to build a new 2,480 square foot fast food restaurant and drive-through located on the northwest corner of the shopping center. A little bit about the background of this project. This proposed new restaurant and drive-through is part of the St. Francis Square Shopping Center renovation project. That included the demolition and new construction of the seafood grocery store, facade improvements for the 3 existing retail businesses at the shopping center, the building of a new pad for a retail business, and the parking lot repaving, restriping, landscaping, and new light fixtures. The shopping center renovation project has already been approved through an administrative design review permit approved on March 6, 2023. Staff received public comment from 2 members of the public from the Daly City Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and also from Melinda Hugh, who had concerns about pedestrian and school safety impacts from the proposed restaurant and drive-through. A traffic study was completed and reviewed by the traffic engineering staff for the project and found no significant impacts to bicycle and pedestrian safety from the restaurant drive-through project. The applicant has addressed potential queuing concerns for the drive-through, and the project does include upgrades to sidewalks, driveways, and pedestrian path of travel crossings for the restaurant and the drive-through. These are some slides of the existing site taken February of 2023. Southgate Avenue facing the southwest, St. Francis Boulevard facing northeast. This is the site of the where the restaurant and drive-through would be located. This is the existing site plan of the shopping center. And this is the proposed site plan, and then you can see the building footprint of the Chowking restaurant, which is the name of the restaurant and drive-through located at the northwest corner of the site. This is an enlarged view of the site. The drive-through would begin on the northern entryway to the drive-through would be on the northern part of the site, and then move south through and exiting down below here. It shows the queuing, the number of vehicles that can queue through there. And these are the 11 parking spaces that you can see. This is the proposed floor plan. And these are the colored materials for the site. The restaurant and drive-through is designed to be architecturally compatible with the supermarket and the retail buildings in the shopping center. The exterior building finishes would include light gray paint and light green for the exterior walls, cedar board and batten siding painted brown, and dark brown for the roof line trim. The base of the building will consist of stone veneer. Portions of the south and east elevation exterior will consist of dark brown corrugated metal, and the south and east elevations will have a black metal canopy installed above the windows with recessed LED lights. There will be steel trellises located on the west, south, and east elevations to break up the wall space. And there will also be LED gooseneck down light fixtures installed above the trellises and the signage. The windows will consist of clear anodized aluminum painted black. And this is the color elevations showing the colors and the exterior materials of the proposed restaurant. As part of the project, there was a parking and traffic analysis done for the entire shopping center. And basically, it evaluated the required parking and the proposed parking for the shopping center itself, and also the parking that would be required for the restaurant and drive-through. So the restaurant would have 11 spaces, including 2 accessible spaces, and the shopping center itself would have 226 to 250 spaces of parking demand on weekdays and on Saturday. There's a proposed parking supply of 262 spaces to accommodate the project during peak parking demand. In conclusion, the traffic operation analysis showed that the vehicle trips generated by the project would not cause an adverse effect on traffic operations at the adjacent St. Francis Boulevard and Southgate Avenue intersection and the project driveways. Again, this is the parking site plan. This is the restaurant drive-through and the queuing. The traffic study showed that there would be expected maximum drive-through queue of 7 vehicles on a weekday and 11 vehicles on a Saturday, including 5 vehicles queued at the pickup window and 6 vehicles queued at the ordering board. The site plan shows that the drive-through lane would be approximately 200 feet in length between the pickup window and the entrance of the drive-through lane, which can accommodate a queue of about 8 vehicles. The restaurant would use traffic cones or staff during peak periods to direct drive-through traffic to continue past the first east-west drive aisle after entering the site from Southgate Avenue to ensure that any excess drive-through queue is contained within the parking lot and does not impede traffic. And this has been added to the project as a condition of approval. This slide I just wanted to show shows the shopping center landscape plan. So there's a lot of new trees, 129 new trees, 1,387 shrubs, perennials, and ground cover, and 8 vines that are going to be added to the shopping center. And staff has determined that the project is exempt from CEQA in accordance with Section 15303C, the new construction of a restaurant not exceeding 2,500 square feet in floor area. Staff evaluated the project and determined that it meets the findings. It's consistent with the city's general plan, and it's consistent with chapters 17.44, 17.45, and 17.34 of the Daly City Municipal Code. And again, the project is exempt from CEQA per section 153003 Class 3C of the CEQA guidelines. Staff recommends the Planning Commission recommended the City Council approval of the use permit and design review permit for a new restaurant and drive-through at 79 St. Francis Square Shopping Center. This concludes staff's presentation. Staff and the applicant are available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam.
Sure.
You don't bite. Okay, so before we begin, I'd like to open the public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak about this particular project that are here today? No? With that, then, I'd like to close the public.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, I got a lot of letters from, especially from the bicycle group, and I would like to ask them questions because I try to observe the place and I hardly see any bicycle moving in that area. So why did they write the letter in the first place? So nobody, I received 4 letters from them. Somebody from the bicycle group. Because I would like to ask them question, how often do they pass in that area? I haven't seen, in 1 hour stay of that area, I haven't seen them passing. So this is one comment that, just to rebuke the guy here, that if they want to make any statement, they can write a letter so we can entertain them. Because speaking here 2 minutes, you cannot speak any longer. Whereas explain it for five pages, that's okay with me. So, in as much as they are not here, I move to close the public hearing, Your Honor.
Very good. So that's, do I have a second on that?
I second.
Very good. I'll like to have a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we have closed the public hearing. And we don't, I don't recall, do we have any letters on this? We didn't have any letters.
I have a lot of.
Yes.
We have letters.
Oh,
I
the
will see
bicycle,
Yes.
besides the bicycles.
Yeah, we had one letter from a resident, what's her name? Melinda Hume. Yes.
Okay, no, I read that. Okay. So with that, and we closed a public hearing, does anyone have any questions for Sam with regards to this project?
No, to me,
No?
it should be allowed because with the contention of those people who wrote the letter, I think it's just frivolous and capricious on their part. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody else have a comment? No? Okay, so with that, the only thing I was going to say was, when I heard metal, and I know St. Francis Square is closer to the beach, to the ocean, I would just say is, just to comment, is just a little comment, was
Ocean.
to make sure that it's rust-proof somehow, painted a certain, because everything, it doesn't matter how good you paint it, it will rust. So that was my only comment was when I
Yeah.
saw the parts. Sam, go ahead.
Yes, thanks for that comment. We did speak with the applicant and make sure that, that it's, what did you call the term for it? That it's basically weather resistant, that it's rust proof, so.
Yeah, and the nails too, because you ever. Yeah,
That's right, yeah.
and the screws. You ever notice you go by a building and everything kind of looks good, but all the screws are like dying? They're all rusted. They're gonna pop out of the building. Okay, that was my only comment.
Yeah, we can make sure that's
Yeah,
included as a
I mean,
condition.
it would be
of approval.
nice to have the building last for a little while, because they're really a lot closer to the ocean than even we are. Thank you, appreciate that. Okay, with that, looking to recommend to, I'd like to have, let's see, where am I? Recommends that the Planning Commission forward to the City Council the following recommendation: to adopt the findings as outlined herein. May I have-
so moved,
oh, we,
yeah.
okay, then we had a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Affirm the environmental assessment and approve major subdivision sub 0521015047, use permit UPR 0521055048, design review DR 0521015049, and lot merger lot. Am I reading that wrong? Oh my God, I'm reading the same one we just did.
Yeah, you wanna do
Deja
three.
vu. Thank you, Teresa. You need to just stop me. Okay. I'm gonna go down to the right place. It's gonna be item 3 that's really a 2, which is why I looked at 2 and went with 2. Okay, well, my paper says never mind, it's misnumbered, may I say. So we're gonna go to the right place. So approve conditional use permit UPR 122154998 and design review DR 0722015775, subject to the conditions of approval outlined herein. May I have a motion with a roll call, please? Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, roll call?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Aye. Sam, thank you. Oh, you're on the next one. Don't move, don't move, don't go anywhere. Sam, you are here for the use permit UPR 0323016129, a sign program to establish the St. Francis Square Shopping Center sign program at 79 St. Francis Square. Now it's you.
That is it.
Okay.
Good evening. As you just stated, the next item before you is a use permit for the St. Francis Square Shopping Center sign program. This is the same site that we just talked about at 79 St. Francis Square Shopping Center. This is the location and where the signage will be located all within the shopping center here. This is the zoning, neighborhood commercial. And the applicant is proposing to establish a 79 St. Francis Square Shopping Center sign program to include tenant signs, directional signage, a pylon sign, a monument sign, and a supermarket mural. The program requires a use permit and design review for the master sign program. The signage at the existing shopping center is aged and the colors and materials have deteriorated due to weather. In addition, the retail shop signs in the shopping center are disorganized and are not uniform in style, size, colors, and materials. This master sign program criteria will address these issues. The primary objective of the sign design criteria is to generate high-quality creative tenant signage. The tenants will be encouraged to combine a variety of materials, lighting methods, colors, type styles, and graphic elements for unique storefront signage at St. Francis Square based on the criteria in the master sign program. The signage for the new proposed restaurant and drive-through is included in this master sign program. This is an overview of the proposed signage. Again, it would include a monument sign, a pylon sign, a primary anchor signage and mural, the retail shop tenant signage, and restaurant with drive-through signage. The proposed sign text and areas will be in conformance with Chapter 17.32 of the zoning code signage development standards. So these are the proposed sign standards. Again, looking at a variety and diversity of signage to be encouraged, including colors or design among tenants. Signage that's creative in name and includes a logo, that'll be encouraged. Different graphic elements that fit comfortably in the sign area. The signage will be balanced and in scale with the context of the sign space in the building. The thickness, height, and color of the sign lettering shall be visually balanced in proportion to the building. There will be no signage of any type within or lower than 8 feet above the finished grade. And then the sign lighting will use face illuminated signage for the primary tenant, the supermarket, and then the retail shop tenant signs, and the new restaurant signage will be halo illuminated signs. These are some site photos. This is no longer, this has been demolished. This is the old supermarket. And this is what the existing site looks like. So you can see this variety of signage. It's a sort of a mismatch of different sizes and areas and colors. And some of it extends above the roof line and some is below. So this is part of developing the applicant developing a sign program so that we bring more uniformity to the signage and upgrade the signs. This is a little bit of a summary of the sign color and materials. Again, the materials will be a monument pylon signage that includes aluminum metal cladding for the monument sign bases, and the pylon sign with a 1/2-inch acrylic embedded LED letters, and then a brick veneer for the base of the monument and pylon signs. Brick veneer, yeah. This is a tenant logo and copy layout specifications. This is the proposed site plan showing where the signage would be located. The pylon sign will be located on the corner of Southgate Avenue and St. Francis Boulevard. And then the monument sign would be located at the driveway here at St. Francis Boulevard into the shopping center. This is a zoomed in site plan of where the location of the pylon and the monument signs would be located. These are the anchor tenant signage where the supermarket will be located. And this is a mural location, which is going to be on the north elevation of the supermarket. And we have as a condition of approval that the city staff will be working with the developer to review a mural that basically looks at it reflects sort of the history and the culture of Daly City. And so one of the ideas that we received is to look at perhaps like a Filipino culture that, or a mural that reflects sort of the Filipino heritage and culture in Daly City. And so we'll be working with the developer to review some designs on that. This is the retail shop signage for the first building. Retail shop buildings, signage for on the north elevations, west elevation. And you can see actually this is the red outline is where the signage is located on the site plan. Let's see. This is the restaurant signage. And so this is the pylon signage. The overall height of this sign will be 22 feet with a face area of 51 square feet. All the dimensions are within the parameters outlined in the Daly City sign ordinance. The sign's exterior finishes will coordinate with the newly proposed wood siding and brick veneer utilized by the supermarket. The proposed sign design incorporates internally illuminated tenant panels with polycarbonate faces and translucent vinyl graphics. This is the monument sign that has an overall height of 6 feet with a face area of 39 square feet. Again, the dimensions are all within the Daily Sign City Ordinance guidelines. Like the pylon sign, the monument sign will have a brick veneer exterior finish to coordinate with the wood siding and brick veneer that's utilized by the supermarket. And it'll also have the illuminated copy of the St. Francis Square. So here you see the night view of the monument sign. These are the tenant sign types for the face illuminated signs for the market tenants, and then the halo illuminated signage for the rest of the tenants. So this is the drive-through signage. This is the drive-through menu sign for the drive-through. And then this is just the drive-through signage with the clearance bar, 9-foot clearance bar for the drive-through signage. So the project has been determined to be exempt from CEQA pursuant to section 15301, existing facilities class 1, in that the shopping center sign program involves defining the sign criteria for a minor alteration of existing private structures involving negligible or no expansion of the existing or former use. Staff finds that the project is consistent with the city's general plan designation and zoning, Daly City Code sections chapter 17.32, 17.44, and 17.45, and the project is exempt pursuant to CEQA section 15301, existing facilities. This time, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the City Council for the use permit to approve the use permit and design review for the St. Francis Square Shopping Center sign program. This concludes staff's presentation, and staff and the applicant are available here to answer any questions. We do have the sign contractor here that can answer questions also.
I like the idea of cleaning up the signs. I like things to look neat and orderly and be able to find what we're looking for, so that's really nice. I was just going to ask, I just wanted to make sure, and I'm guessing because it's the acrylic face that you're not gonna have this immense amount of lighting like you would where they have a TV screen or anything, so the lighting for the neighborhood wouldn't be like in their face. I'm guessing, right? With the acrylic face, it's subtle.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
that's, I'm,
And it's halo illuminated, so the illumination is just where the text is.
yes, that's why pretty much sure when I saw the acrylic face that that's what it was. And so this is going to be used with the electrical and opposed to solar panels. You know how they have, I see lights with solar, and I don't know. I don't know, is the city kind of even encouraging solar to light up this? I don't know if solar panels could light up something like this. Michael? No? Just flip it up.
Electricity, just regular electricity.
Electricity, okay, yeah, no, just asking, I
Use a
saw that
solar.
it was low voltage and all that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and the colors look nice, and everything's gonna match and look pretty, and, did we have any letters on that? That I don't recall receiving any letters
No, we didn't
on the
receive any
signage?
public comment on the signage, no.
No, okay, does anybody here have a question or a thought or anything? I thought, well done, 2 of them now.
Yeah, all right,
That's good.
thank you.
You had everything we need, everything I was asking, it was here, so
Okay,
thank
great.
you. Yeah, besides asking about the solar panel.
Sure.
Would you have any thoughts? And you? Senor? Any thoughts? It looks great.
No, are you going to use LED?
For the, yeah, so for some of the signage for the supermarket, I believe is gonna be, there is some LED signage, I believe. Can
But
double check that.
at the supermarket, not like near the street and,
No, yeah, at the supermarket.
Okay.
no.
okay,
And then the other secondary retail buildings are the halo illuminated signage.
nice. Teresa, do you have any thoughts on the signage? You're good, and we're good?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Okay.
with that, let's make sure I'm on the right number. We're on 3, but really 4 on my list. Am I correct? There you are, that's correct. Okay, I'm gonna write the same thing. So, first of all, we'd like to open this to public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on this? No? We're all good? Okay, great. With that, let's close the public hearing. May I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So then we move on to recommend that the planning commission forward to the city council the following recommendation. Adopt the findings as outlined herein. May I have a motion on that?
I motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then affirm the environmental assessment and approve use permit UPR 0223016129 sign program, subject to the conditions of approval outlined herein. We have a motion with a roll call. We vote, make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All okay? Let's have a roll call.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much. Sam?
Okay, you're welcome.
I'm just looking to see if you shouldn't be able to go home yet. I think it's all Michael after this.
Okay,
Thank you, it's nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
Thank you.
team.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. It's great to be here.
absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna move on to Michael regarding the parcel map PM 0323016140 and use permit UPR 0323016142. For approval for a condominium subdivision of 3 existing medical offices in the existing office building at 341 Gellert Boulevard. Am I correct? He just looked like he had a puzzled look on his face. Okay, thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the planning.
Want to grab his since he's gone?
There we go.
Wow, you are so on. Okay, here we go.
This is a request for an airspace subdivision in an existing office building at 341 Gellert Boulevard. This is the Ceremony Plaza Shopping Center. It's right there across from, what is that, PetSmart? This shows the location. This is the private drive aisle that separates the shopping center, the Gellert Marketplace Shopping Center from the office complex. I think we're probably familiar with it. This building here contains, I believe, what are dental offices. And the applicants are proposing, they want to take they own if I understand this correctly, they own the practice together and they want to create an airspace subdivision so that they own their each individual office spaces within the building.
Can you explain?
There's no actual land subdivision, it's just it's like a condominium, but for offices.
Okay, so they're taking the whole space and going, this is mine and this is yours?
Basically.
And dividing it up and making it legal?
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. So
It's
there's
like
a
getting
legal.
divorce. They're divorcing,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, well, I just thought, I want to make sure I understood it. Okay.
Yeah, so here's the view of the building, just to be clear of what it is. And then here's the view from Gellert Boulevard. So it's an approval of a 3-unit airspace subdivision consisting of existing medical offices. The building shares a parking, landscape area, and drive aisles with other buildings in the same complex. There is no construction proposed as part of this. None of the other buildings are affected by the subdivision. Here's the actual map that the Planning Commission would be recommending to the City Council. We do have a condition of approval in this project, though, that is somewhat important. Anybody who goes to this Ceremony Plaza regularly may have noticed that the drive aisles are, and have been for a long time, and it's not related to these people in particular, although they are part of the owners of this, is our understanding. The drive aisles are in poor shape, which is, and they're private roads and they're private drive aisles, and so the city has a limited ability to really make a change here. But we do have an application in front of us, and we did take a look at this issue because we do think that the situation is unsafe. The existing, or not existing, but previously existing stop bars have been washed or whatever, gone away over time. It doesn't say stop on the ground anywhere. You can see the sign here. But if you see it, you might stop. Anybody who's familiar with driving in here knows that you need to probably stop, but it's not, it's something that needs to be addressed. So we brought this up with the applicants, and of course, they have a cost concern. The same thing right in front of their building. There's essentially 4 different areas, right in front of the building, right behind it. Here, there's the stop bar has gone away here, right in front of CVS. And then also as we approach the Outback Steakhouse at this location. I don't know if these streets even have names, but this stop sign is completely washed off. So the applicants rightfully pointed out that there's a whole bunch of properties that own these drive aisles. Why do they have to pay for the whole, the cost of it? And our response, well, you have an application in front of us, and it is our duty to the public to make sure that the drive aisles are as safe as possible. But given the concern related to costs, we did do some pricing of how much this would cost to stripe, and we did feel that a $10,000 limit was appropriate. And we've run that past them, and they don't seem to have an issue with it, at least not that we've heard of so far. So at any rate, we do have a condition of approval. I won't read it to you because I just explained it to you. We do want a high-quality repainting of the stop bar, the stop legend, and where necessary, the stop sign. And we actually think that for less than $10,000, we can achieve greater vehicular safety in this shopping center. The potholes are something you'll just have to live with. This just deals with the.
I was just going to ask, was that when they built this, it's almost like being in a condo.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
So isn't there like a pot of money?
You'd
No
think.
pot intended, but a pot of money that everyone who has a business would put in to maintain the roads.
Well, if there is, and part of what this condition does is it sort of, pressures the applicants, if you will, to find out the answer to that question, because it seems like there should be a pot of money that's collected
Yeah,
that
because it's
maintains the
private
road.
roads. Because if it was the city roads, then
Yeah.
it would be our problem.
Yeah,
But because it's their private road,
yeah.
somewhere when they
You'd think,
built this
right,
location and sold these buildings,
right.
you would think, right? Somebody has that money.
Yeah, well, there is a management company, there's an owner, and the city from time to time, when a bad pothole grows and gets bigger, we do go to them and say, hey, fix it, and they
And they
usually
do.
do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they must have a pot of money that's growing.
Yeah, so, but in this case, we don't really have the, patience for that. So we have, we have a dangerous situation and we feel that it could be addressed. So maybe the applicants can get some money out of the ownership to help pay for this.
Sure, maybe.
There's findings required for a parcel map. They're in the staff report. Project's exempt from CEQA. We're recommending the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council. If there's any questions, the applicant's here and city staff's available.
Who is the applicant? We're gonna make it easy since we put you so late in the, did you miss your dinner?
No, I had it beforehand.
Smart, that was smart.
I'd clarify that there's no divorce going on. It's easier if I stay here, if that's okay. My name's Dave Couchy and I represent the ownership interest. There's no real divorce going on. There are 3 different dental practices that are taking place. They own the building as an LLC, and each of them is getting on in years somewhat. So they want to sell their practices at some point in time, and in order to sell their practices, it's much easier if you can sell the practice with the real estate that goes with it. Hence the reason for the airspace easement. You try to separate each of them and turn them into condominiums.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
I run the, we're doing the due diligence right now. There are 3 different CC&Rs and 3 different entities that are involved there. We're trying to go back through and find out the maintenance obligations for each of them. We think it's with Ceremony Plaza, but it's complicated. We'll find out how it gets taken and we'll have it taken care of.
Very good. At least we'll have stop signs and such.
Yes.
It's
And we should add, the
amazing.
applicant's been very easy to work with on this
Easy.
topic,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, that's a good price, because you said not more than.
We thought it would be fair to put a cap on it, sure. It's
Yeah.
not,
Okay, well, thank you for sitting so long. Okay, so does anyone here have any questions with regards to this request?
No comment.
Okay, so with that, we'd like, I open it to the public hearing.
I still move to close it.
We're gonna close it. Okay, thank you. So I have a motion here. Do I have a second?
I second, please.
Let's all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So recommend that the Planning Commission forward to the City Council the following recommendation. Adopt the findings as outlined herein. May I have a motion on that?
Call to a motion, please.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, very good. Affirm the environmental assessment. Again, a motion and a vote.
I call a motion, please.
Okay, second on my left.
Second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and the last is approved parcel map PM 0323016140 and use permit UPR 0323016142, subject to the conditions and approval outlined herein. A motion with the roll call. So we have again a motion.
Aye, motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor, roll call. I'm moving forward too fast.
Falapua,
Yes.
Paniza,
Yes.
Satori. Yes. Parano.
Yes. Thank you for being here. Thank you very much. Awesome. So we have the last one, Michael.
Oh, there's 2 more.
I didn't turn the page. Second to last. Michael, second to the last, is going to be a zone change, a ZC 0323016151 to rezone the entire parcel at 1618 Sullivan Avenue to be included within the CC, Commercial Cannabis Combining District, and provide for an additional commercial cannabis eligibility zone as stipulated in Daly City Municipal Code, Section 17.56.050. Eligibility zones, the rezoning would permit the retail sale of cannabis by right without the requirement for additional public hearings at 1618 Sullivan Avenue. So after you finish, and then I'd like some clarification if you don't mind, because I believe we voted when we looked at the entire map at the time of the city of Daly City, and we said, this is where we want to have them, and this was our requirement. Is this trying to change that map?
Yes, it is. So, Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission, this is a request to, change that concept. Kind of, sort of. It's similar to a request that came exactly 2 years ago to you at the same address. That proposal failed at the city council just because of the voting number. The council vote was, I believe, a 2-2, and so the motion failed at city council, even though I think the planning commission recommended that change. So anyway, getting back to this is a request to amend the zoning at 1618 Sullivan Avenue. It's a 2-story retail and office building there on Sullivan Avenue, to be within the commercial cannabis combining district, so the base zone would remain the same, but this would be new zoning overlay that would allow the sale of retail cannabis. Just to clarify, the use would be allowed without further discretion by the city of Daly City, so no further use permits. That is not a proposal of this. This is the way the city's regulatory structure for commercial cannabis is set up. Nobody requires to get a use permit. So they're just joining the district that would allow that, to be very clear on that. If everybody doesn't know where the use is, this is the Speedy, well, we have some pictures, but this is the Speedy oil changers here, and this is the in the red is the.
And this would be upstairs,
This would be downstairs this time,
downstairs.
actually.
What's
Although they could
there?
they could locate either upstairs or downstairs.
What's there now?
Right now, I believe it's mostly vacant, but there was a dermatology business previously, yeah, so. I think we went over the first bullet of what this was, a rezoning, create additional, so this is a change from the previous. So this proposal would create an additional eligibility zone in which this property would be the only parcel situated within the newly created eligibility zone. So we had, I believe, 6 zones, so this would be a 7th.
Can I ask clarification? I know that the old Vows is one
That's
location.
in number 1, yeah.
Which was a surprise. And we did talk about so many being close to schools, you know, within a certain amount of, but I do remember us, if I'm correct, we did talk about this specific location.
We
This
spoke about
specific
2
one.
years ago.
Yeah, this specific location, and I think we did vote okay, right? But my question is, why is it coming back with an additional eligibility zone? Is it because we already gave out the spaces
Basically,
to everybody
yeah.
else?
We'll get to that. We should
Okay,
get through the
sorry,
presentation
sorry.
and then, yeah. Where the previous proposal added the property to the 23 properties in eligibility zone number 1, this proposal does not increase the number of potential cannabis retailers in that zone. So this is the eligibility zone map in Daly City that was adopted by City Council with recommendation from Planning Commission. So there's eligibility zone number 1, and there's already a retailer who is well into the process, and that's at the Old Valves location, of establishing retail cannabis at that location. So the applicant, and they could tell you this story better than I could, they were gonna open in eligibility zone number 6, way down here at the South San Francisco border. But the short story of a long story is that this retail space may not be available anymore. So retail zone 6 is sort of a question mark about whether it'll actually ever occur. And so what they're saying to the city is that instead of going into 6, we'd like to create a new number 7 over here. And so because the 1's already taken,
Why not say 6 up there?
you could make a recommendation to remove number 6. And
Move number 6 instead of making a number 7.
the planning commission would be within its
Yeah,
abilities to make that recommendation. But we're telling you what they're proposing.
I understand.
Question of privilege, Your Honor. Do we have any operational store now going on? In where?
Yes, we have,
Is Skyline?
yes,
Okay. So we only have one.
we only have 1.
We have one that's open, and then we had selected retailers for 4, and the applicant was one of those 4 that's suggesting to create this new zone.
Yeah.
So we have the one at Val's who's seeking a permit, and then we also had the other one in zone 5, and they're also pursuing building permits as well.
With regards to the one at Val's, which number are they trying to take? Which position in that?
Val's would be in zone 1.
So,
Here, so Val's is, just like Tatum said, is in zone 1. So, and they're well underway with getting a permit.
correct.
We're
I
talking
mean,
to them about the
they
sign
broke
design,
ground.
so,
I mean,
yeah.
I drive by there, I see, they're broke ground.
And so, yes, and so when this went to city the last proposal went to city council, there was some controversy about, and allowing an additional one inside zone 1. And like I said, to make a long story short, the vote failed on a 2-2. I think that's right. And, so this applicant is saying, in full knowledge that the eligibility zone number 1 is taken by another retailer, that set up a new one here, so.
The only good thing is, it's not like Mission Street, you know, it's straight up a line and boom, boom, boom with smoke shops. It's Val's, and then you've gotta go around and you're past In and Out.
Yeah,
You're kinda across from In and Out, so it's kinda really in the zone, but not like, there's one, there's one, there's one. So that's a positive.
yeah, so the story really hasn't changed a whole lot in terms of our recommendation from the last proposal. If you don't want to, we don't have to go through this, but
Sure.
like Val's, this site is actually very suitable to having retail cannabis, just in terms of the phobias associated with retail cannabis. There's not a lot of residential around it. That's like we described, there's no conditional use permit or anything that needs to be obtained, so when a retailer goes in here, I mean, even if you approve this tonight and the city council approved it, and these guys decided they didn't want to open up shop, 5 years from now, somebody says, oh, we want to open one up, there would be no public hearing.
Correct.
And that would be okay, and what we're saying is why this is a decent location, the police department agrees, because there's not a lot of residential surrounding it. There's not school, I mean, MP Brown School is somewhat close, but its frontage is on Eastmore, and the distance is far enough away that this actually still meets the distance separation that this planning commission and city council had sought when we set up our commercial cannabis overlay zones. So, anyway, this is a site photo. I think we all know the site pretty well, and this use, I believe, would be in one of these back corner uses. The previous proposal was on the second floor, and again, they could locate anywhere in here.
Within that zone, not, well, you're saying zone or within that
In this property, in
property?
this building, yes.
So we're talking that property, not as a zone per
Well,
se.
it would be its own zone.
It would be, that property would be its own zone, so you're saying within that space, so they couldn't go across the street at
Could
the
not.
Tialdi, the Tialdi place?
The other Trialdi building, no.
Yeah,
no.
yeah, it would be in this building, okay. So you said that we could recommend adding a 7th, and which would keep the one near Gellert, or we could just say move 6 to that one particular place. You've already got that number 5, which is real close. I mean, it's off King Drive as well.
Right.
And throwing 6 back up at the top at that location, and then we wouldn't have more cannabis places.
That's true. It would change the public noticing. We'd have to rezone this and notify the property owner that we're changing their zoning we're removing the CC overlay from number 6, but, I mean, if the planning commission would like to make that recommendation, you could do that, although, I don't know. Because we'd have to rezone number 6, I think, if you really want to make it right.
Rezone 6, take out the cannabis, and then move. Well, what are you guys' thoughts? I mean, personally, you know what, you're asking the wrong person here, you know? Me, I'm like 6 is more than enough. And it probably, for these businesses, the less is better, because once they're established, more people will come to their door. If you have many, many of them, you get less business, so. My thought, I don't know what you guys think, my thought would be take 6 and move it up there and make it 6, make it its own little space, and not have 6 where it's at. That's all I was gonna say. What are your guys' thoughts?
Is there a law that we can max out what numbers in the city?
No, so when the commercial cannabis overlay zones were established by the city council, there were distance separations, primarily from schools,
Right.
that we observed. And we made maps and presented that to the planning commission and the city council. The city council ultimately decided to go with a 500-foot separation? We have it here. But excluded everything on the east side of Interstate 280 also, including the Bayshore neighborhood. So that's why this map that we looked at only has, say, west side locations. So to answer your question succinctly,
Do we have a number that we need to stop at, or?
there is no numerical number in any of the city's codes.
Okay.
Which is why they're saying to make it 7, and I said, why don't we just move 6 up? But it's, you know, it's everybody's recommendation and everybody's thought.
Yeah.
I mean, what is the need to have 7 right now?
There isn't, but I think it's important to note that we're not gonna get 7, because it's unlikely that, and I don't know if Bill Beep's left, but he probably can't speak on this anyway, but we don't think that the owners of St. Francis Square are interested in this use.
Okay.
But that could change, you know.
Yeah.
It sounds like number 6 is probably, and the applicant can tell you more about that. He may be more intimate with that situation than we are, but familiar with it than we are.
One moment, so you're saying we already have an applicant for 6?
No, they were gonna go into 6.
I'm
This
sorry, so
applicant
they were
was-
gonna go into 6?
Yes,
But you're not gonna go into 6, you wanna go up the other way.
Yeah.
But I'm asking, why don't we just move 6 up and call it a day?
if
And
the
why do
planning
we need to
commission
have
would like to
7?
do that, the planning commission can recommend that the city
They could
council
always
do
say
that.
no, but, you know,
Did you want to move 6 up because of the, your
location,
or because of clients?
yeah, come on.
Good evening, Planning Commission Chair and staff. Appreciate your time. So we actually have one of the only properties that was available in 6. So to answer your question, Commissioner, there is a limit on the 1 per zone. And then if there is more than 1 in each zone, then it goes to a lottery, which already did occur. Currently, I think only 4 of the 6 zones have a shop within them. We are one of those awardees in zone 6 currently. The Mercedes-Benz dealership is immediately adjacent to it. When we signed that lease and moved forward with this project, there is a landlord that is in one of the other units within zone 6. It's a small little weird shopping mall
Yeah.
that has some. And they signed a lease with us with extensions that they can't honor because their land lease ends in 2024, and Mercedes-Benz has an intention to demolish the property and expand their area. It's my understanding that they don't have any approved plans to do so thus far within the city, but I've got emails saying that if they could, they'd demolish it today. So that's why we're here, asking to, I'm okay with moving it. The only concern I would have is timing. We did lock this property down. We're paying a lease on it. and
On
then
6, I'm sorry,
On the proposed property,
on the proposed over near In-N-Out.
on Sullivan, correct? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you're gonna get more people, because there's lots of people that go to In-N-Out. So they go to you, they go have In-N-Out, they go have In-N-Out, they go to you, yeah.
Right.
We can see the advantation of having that location, and it's near the freeway. So, what I was saying was, since your proposed location, number 6, is compromised, because you could invest all you want in 2024 if that's it, it's over. That'd be a waste of money. Then you're already at that location. You've already talked to the two TLDs for their space?
Yes, that's correct. We in fact took the project all the way through 2 different rounds of building plans. We tried to pull back on the building plans to value engineer it to build out at 6 and then see if there was other opportunities. So we've invested quite a bit. We're still paying rent on the one in zone 6, but it just it's not feasible at this point.
Yeah.
So I would be fine with you removing 6 and moving it. That would create the limit that the commissioner was asking about of 1 per zone. So this would be 1 building that would be zone 6. Generally, the zones are pretty small, 5 and 6, and 3 with only a couple of properties. The zones that are currently open, we've combed over extensively. There's been other companies that have done so, and there doesn't seem to be any interest in the use. And so, I would be okay with removing 6 and then moving it up there, that would be fine with me.
Okay.
The landlord's actually the one that brought the proposal to us, saying that it had been already recommended, for approval by this commission, and that, it was an absence in the city council. They tried to continue it at that meeting. It was a 2-2 meeting. It was denied.
Okay, no, I hear it. I mean, we can always recommend it. That's just my suggestion. But the city council can go, well, we can leave it at 7, but so, thank you for stepping up and explaining that. It makes more sense. Does anybody have any questions for this gentleman? No, we're good?
Oh, and by the way, my name's Devin Julian. I'm one of the owners of Culture, for the record.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Evan. I'm sure we'll see you, once you're there, you should join the council, the Chamber of Commerce.
Absolutely, yeah, we do in every
absolutely.
city.
Absolutely. We're going to see you at one of those get-togethers.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so perfect. So do we have any questions? We have no more questions. We're moving forward. It's a long day. Thank you so much, Evan. Nice to meet you. Okay, so with no other questions here, and is there anybody in the public who'd like to speak on this one subject? I'm sure you're on the last one, aren't you? I'm so sorry. It's like a lottery, so I apologize. But it's nice to see you out there, by the way. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to close the public hearing. May I have a motion?
A call to a motion.
You? Second. A second over there, over here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So we recommend that, well, with the caveat that I'm wondering if we could just make that recommendation to the city council. I'm sure they'll choose what they want to do, but making a suggestion that possibly moving.
Suggestion would be a word.
Suggestion is the
Yes.
word, right? The suggestion is 6, move. They may say add 7. That's their
For
prerogative.
rezoning land, so when we make a recommendation to do that, we have to provide notice.
I
To
understand.
rezone a piece of
No,
property.
I understand. I totally understand. But we're just gonna throw that out there, kind of like when we say, can we suggest this paint color? It's just a suggestion. No, I'm not suggesting you paint your building a different color.
Yeah, I've been through a lot of these, so.
Okay, so that being said, with the recommendation, I'd like to recommend that the planning commission move forward this to the city council, the following recommendations: to adopt the findings as outlined herein. A motion, please.
A call to a motion, please.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Find that the proposed regulations are exempt from the requirements of California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, pursuant to CEQA guidelines, section of 15061, review for exemptions. A motion?
Aye, motion.
Second. Awesome. And a vote?
Aye.
Aye. And recommend to the city council the approval of zone change ZC 0323016151, rezoning 1618 Sullivan Avenue to be included in the CC Commercial Cannabis Combining District, subject to the conditions and approval outlined herein, and also with our suggestion, our little suggestion, that'll be in there, I just wanna make sure. So may we have, we have a motion?
Aye, motion.
Okay, with a roll call, please, thank you. Roll call?
Fa'apua? Kaliza?
Yes.
Satori?
Yes.
Carano?
Yes, very good. Thank you very much, Evan.
Thank you.
Take care. Okay, we're on the last one. I apologize, you weren't the first one, but here we go. Michael, we are discussing use permit UPR 423016182, a proposal for temporary classrooms on a vacant property that would be in place for approximately 12 months while the construction occurs at Hilldale School at 25 Florence Avenue, which is up at the top of that hill. Okay, Michael.
Madam Chair, members of the Planning Commission, this is a request by Hilldale School to place temporary classrooms on property they own adjacent to the Hilldale School property. There's actually, it's not immediately adjacent, there's city land in between maybe let's go to a map. Here's the location of the subject property. There are better maps that show this. These are the site photos. Here's the Hilldale School looking east. This is where Thiers turns into Florence. And there's a driveway that the city, I think the city constructed or the school constructed, or both to access the city water tank that's at the end of it. And the applicant is proposing on this piece of land to situate on a temporary basis, 12 months, classrooms so that classroom space can be added to the main campus. Those are permanent buildings over there. These are just, portable like we see at the elementary schools. And they would be situated here. The area would be fenced and improved for, a play area and whatnot. Portables added. I was gonna go to the map. It's kindergarten through third grade. There's a van that would transport from Thiers, Florence, to the classrooms, because it's hard to have ADA accessibility between the school and this property. So they have to be transported in vans. So there's no site disturbance, it's already flat. There is a temporary play, there's the site that I showed you there, and there's a play area that's downhill from it, and we'll get into the implications of that in a second. So there's no permanent surfaces that are proposed, everything would be tan bark. They want to keep costs low, of course, with this, so they're not proposing any kind of impervious surfaces or anything like that. Here's the map, though, that I wanted to show you. So this is Thiers and Florence, and here's the existing school. The photograph that I'd shown you is basically it was hard to see because it was downslope, but up this driveway. And there's somewhat of a gravel road that comes here, and the city's water tank, you can kind of see it here in the round outline, is here, and then the applicant's property is essentially here, and that photos that we'd shown you have the temporary classrooms and the bathroom facilities for the classrooms here, and there's a little area for an outdoor play area, all under basically already disturbed land. There's no grading there may be a little grading that's necessary, but not much to get it flat enough for the classrooms. So associated with this is the need because kids need a more place to play, they'd like to have an area here that isn't disturbed, and that is somewhat of the issue. So right before the Planning Commission meeting, San Bruno Mountain Watch, which is an organization that they don't oversee, but they're what's the right word, Del? Advocacy group. Thank you for San Bruno Mountain. That's the perfect word. Wrote us a letter expressing some concern about the Licengia plant that may exist on this portion of the property and the trail that leads down to it. And we'll forward that to you, but it was literally at 6:57, so we didn't have time to do that. But it raises a valid point, and what we think probably that we need to do, and I think the letter, we were just trying to read it during the Planning Commission meeting actually, suggests is maybe we meet on, if this proposal is if they do need to do it, and they do, the playground was thought of as somewhat optional. And I don't know if it's actually necessary at this point, but if it isn't optional and they still want to move forward with it, perhaps the school and our understanding, the school and Mountain Watch have worked together in the past, and maybe we can meet on site and try and avoid the Licengia. Again, it's a temporary use. I mean, it seems like something that we could work through, and I think that's what the letter was suggesting in a quick read. It seems like a reasonable request. So that's really the only issue that we know of with this. The city, the various city departments that are engaged in this proposal are still looking at it. That's why the conditions of approval are pretty light, other than comply with all the city department requirements. The applicant needs to, they need to construct this during the next school year, so they need to have this put in place by the time the school year starts in August, and that's why we needed to have, as soon as possible, public hearing on this. This does require a use permit in the R1 zoning district, and so that's why it's before you. Here's a kind of a zoom in on it, and the site plan's very rough. These are the portable buildings in the dark gray, and there's that play area down there. And we're gonna have to, come to some, decision about what, if there are any impacts in that area. This is a application that we're trying to process as quickly as possible, and we do want to be respectful to any endangered plants that exist in the area, of course, and we also we want to advance construction of the school too. So the city has, a number of concerns or interests in this project. Anyway, we did receive another comment letter that was forwarded to you earlier in the day. I think there was an issue with, it sounded like the person maybe had an issue with the school expansion in general too, so. But we do have a letter from a neighbor, a letter now from San Bruno Mountain Watch. So there is some public interest in this proposal. We do think it's exempt from the environmental assessment. The letter that we will forward to you from San Bruno Mountain Watch suggests that the project is not exempt, but we do feel that an exemption is appropriate. This is a temporary use, and we're going to recommend that you add a condition of approval for forwarding to the city council that if the lower area is to be used for a child's play area, that we take a better look at making sure that there are no endangered plants that are affected, and potentially that will meet with San Bruno Mountain Watch in the school and kind of go over that. It seems like a reasonable suggestion by Mountain Watch that we're willing to recommend that you put as a condition of approval. The applicants here, if they have an objection to that, they can let you know about it. We're recommending approval of the use permit, subject to the conditions of approval. If there's any questions, again, we're here, and of course the applicant's here. And Del Shambari's here, I think. Do you represent Mountain Watch, Del, or you're just yourself?
Well, we haven't taken an official position yet.
Oh, okay. So anyway, that's it.
Very good, Michael. So first, before we move forward to opening the public hearing, I'd like to see if any of my fellow commissioners here have any thoughts or any comments.
What would be the San Bruno Mountain concern?
The Mountain Watch's concern is the impact that any potential development has on Lysingea. It's a plant that hosts, well, I think the plant itself is protected, and it also hosts protected species. So that's primarily their concern. And the reason why that's their concern is that San Bruno Mountain itself has a lot of sensitive habitat. And so their concern is that the more habitat you take away, it somehow affects the mountain, which is a valid concern. But as a factual matter, yeah, even in a temporary situation, removing endangered plants and species is not allowed. So we do need to be mindful of that.
Okay. So with your suggestion of condition of approval, that would cover that then?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
Well, we think it would, yes.
Well, let's hope. Any thoughts?
No comment.
You're good? And you, Ray, we're good?
Your Honor,
Yes.
how many pupils or students will be in case this is finished?
You said first to third grade, right? So-
Right, it's two
How
classrooms.
many will be benefited by this temporary school?
I'm not sure that I know the answer to that
Or how many
question.
teachers do you think it will?
It's two classrooms, I do know that.
So two classrooms, about 40, about 80 pupils?
Possibly.
Could be.
It's not, could be 80, 70. Depends on the size of the classroom, I would.
Yeah,
I
that
would
sounds
guess.
about right.
I don't know, this guy.
I see a hand.
Oh, yeah.
She can tell
You know
us.
how many kids there are? Come
I
on
would
up.
like to be enlightened on this. I would like to be educated about
There could be
classroom,
20,
about
it could be
students.
20 kids a class, we don't know.
It's 18.
18.
But I think we're looking at 3 classrooms.
Right, 1 to 3.
Yeah, so it's that's a small number. It's like around 50 or less
Total.
total.
Okay.
And my name is Sasha Clayton.
Hi,
I'm a
Sasha.
principal. Been
Welcome.
there for 16 years.
Nice.
So happy to
Yeah.
answer any questions.
Yeah.
And how many teachers will be accommodated?
I mean, 3 plus an aide, probably in each class.
3 teachers per class or one
No, no,
teacher
no,
per
I'm sorry,
class?
excuse
One
me.
teacher
One
per
teacher
class
per-
with an aide, so 6 people,
Six,
yeah, that would
approximately.
make sense. And so when I listened to what Michael said, if I heard it right, because it's getting late.
That's okay.
No,
You can
no, no.
stay here until 1 o'clock.
Yeah, yeah, no, we don't want to do that. But my question is, he said that the playground is an F.
I think
Could you explain
from
that?
my perspective, it's, you know, if, because of the ADA restrictions, we need to, we can't have the kids coming between the campus and the temporary classroom space. Therefore, they can't use our playground,
The current playground.
current playground.
So
So
you're-
we would
you're
need to have
proposing-
some place. Now, whether we just give them access to the beautiful nature that we have, that's fine. We do use that anyway. We go on the land and we, you know, we always have our Earth Day celebrations out there. We do work with San Bernardino Mountain Watch. Ariel comes in and he's the executive director. He comes in and he teaches classes for our kids, and they go out and they learn what, you know, the native species are and how to help protect it. So we're definitely keen to, you know, not do anything that would hurt
Right.
the beautiful mountain. We appreciate it.
Right. So where I saw the picture, though, it's already gravel, so that's where you propose to have the building.
Classrooms, yes, because we have.
Because it's flat.
Yeah, we have storage containers on there now.
Right,
So
right.
we would get rid of the storage containers and put up the.
Classrooms
the
for them.
portable rooms,
So,
yeah.
so the only question then would be, because the playground that you're envisioning would be within the space that they're saying may have endangered plants,
Yeah,
animals?
there's a lot that's, you know, we've got the lots here right up against the reservoir, and then there's a lot down here that we own. That's where we usually hang out and really pretty place, the big tree and.
Sure.
But if we put up a play structure, it wouldn't be, I mean, it would be very easy, I would think, to avoid if we got, you know, instruction on this is where they are. I think it would be very easy to avoid.
Meaning the space where the plants and the animals are.
That would be the general idea,
That's,
is to
so it
avoid.
could be kind of where you have the storage units and then you put that, or you would have it in that space area, or you're still
No,
thinking?
the playground would need to be down because it's not a fully flat parcel. You know, it's got a lot of slightly varied elevation.
Right, so, but what I'm asking is.
Sorry.
Where you're, no, it's okay, where you're proposing to place it when I looked on the map, so I'm asking is that space, and it, obviously it's not gonna be huge, but a
Right.
playground, you're proposing to move it down where they're concerned about the animals and the plants?
That's my understanding, that the
Okay.
plants, I don't know that there are any animals, well, butterflies.
Butterflies and whatever else. I haven't taken their class, so I don't know what else is there, but it's probably quite lovely. Oh, he has
Oh, it's
paperwork.
beautiful, yeah.
So anyway, okay, perfect. Okay, any questions?
You can also include the physical exercise or PS, the bungee jumping there.
No.
Don't encourage that. Broken legs, broken legs.
But also, you know, it's not necessary to have an actual physical structure. It's a year and we can
Figure it out. yeah.
enjoy it. We do need a space to play, but it doesn't have to be a physical structure. It
Right.
can't be.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you for the
so much,
information.
thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Appreciate it. Okay, so with those questions answered and with our condition of approval, let's move forward. Wait, I'm moving quickly, huh? So at this time, we'd like to open the public hearing. Do we have any public people who'd like to speak? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Oops, sorry. Okay, so Danny Camacho. Camacho, you put an E, you know. Yeah.
I wrote it.
It's been a long evening. Well, Danny Camacho, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, can I start now?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
Hi, so good evening, everyone. So, I'm all for classrooms and schools. I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for SFUSD. But anyway, my couple concerns are, I live on Thier Street, and right now, it never used to be like this, but around 8:30, luckily I leave before 8:30, there's a big traffic jam, and it's hard to get out of your houses and get up the block, because, you know, some streets are kind of narrow, and Point Pacific, they're coming down, And then now there's the big traffic jam from Hillside School, and how do you get around? So they gotta like fly around, so it's kind of dangerous. That's a big concern for me, for us. The other thing is, on Thiers Street, it goes all the way through into the school, and there's parking spots, but people, neighbors park there, especially on street cleaning. So I don't know, our concern is when they're doing the temporary construction or classrooms, where are the construction vehicles gonna park? Where if it's gonna be all jammed up, that's gonna be a problem. And the other thing, you might wanna go take a hike up the hill and look at the grass area, because it's pretty nice. It's a lot of grass, you know, trees and all that. So I don't know if what they're gonna do, you know, if it's temporary, what are they gonna do? Because they're used to, or they usually go down the hill. There's Hillside Park down the hill. There's tennis courts. There's a little basketball court. So that's where the Hilldale School students usually go. They go down the hill. So I don't know, you know, Sasha's saying they need a play area, but they can enjoy, you know, the mountain. We all did. We walk our dogs. You know, it's a nice area for, and a lot of people go up there too. And there's also coyotes that hang out there as well. But yeah, so those are my concerns.
Thank you
All right.
very much. I
All right.
appreciate it.
Sure, you're
Thank you. Can we have a second person who'd like to speak?
I'm sorry, I didn't know, is it already, like, they have, they're allowed to build because, you know, the school they already got permission? Because what about the, you know, is that gonna increase the school population? Is gonna be even more traffic? You know, those were my concerns as well.
I appreciate that, and I guess I have to ask that after the gentleman
answer
speaks. Can I ask now, or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, right before you speak, Del, one moment.
Sure.
So with regards to that, with the building, how high are you going up, and are you gonna increase class sizes and students? I'm sorry, Del.
So the construction, that part of it is approved, so that part of it is going forward. What's happening, is that we're actually going to be, working with the city and actually creating the extension of Thiers that is already there in dirt form. But that's all going to be under construction. So that whole, the Thiers area and a huge swath of our property is going to be under construction. This area is up the hill from there.
The area that's construction is up the hill, is what you're saying?
No.
Or where you're gonna put the temporary buildings is up the hill?
Yes.
Right.
And the construction is actually going to get us off of your street, because I agree with you, it's a nightmare. Nope, I mean, none of us want it, you know, like, so we're actually creating a turnaround and parking places underneath the building so that we actually can get people off of the street, and it creates a really easy turnaround that's not gonna impact the neighbors, because we agree that it's a problem.
Sure.
We don't want that for you guys.
So his other question was with regards to when the construction, which is a year.
Yep.
Are the trucks going to be on your properties, not in their space?
So the trucks will be on the Thiers Street extension, not on the paved part of Thiers.
So it's on like the dirt road that
It's on
you're
the
talking
dirt road
about?
and on our property.
Nice, that's a good, that's,
Parking there for street cleaning, and they're not gonna be able to get in there.
Nobody's gonna, we're not gonna be able to access it while they're grading and paving that street. But once they do, that also will become
available.
parking.
Yeah.
For the area, for the neighborhood.
Yeah, because at night, you don't need it.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win.
But even like during the day, right now, people from the neighborhood park there and our teachers park there, but it's going to continue to be general use.
Nice.
It'll just be actually paved and a little further, a little longer, a little wider,
Yeah.
so that people can actually get their vehicles there.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you answered that. I think he's smiling under that. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you for explaining that. So now Del,
Shambari.
Shambari. How are
San Bruno
you?
Mountain Watch.
Yes, San Bruno
Conservation
Mountain
Chair.
Watch. How are you doing?
You guys come for a hike on the dunes sometime.
Yeah,
I'll send you my information.
thank you.
I just have a couple of things. Yeah, I just want to reiterate, we have a good relationship with the Hilldale School. And I was wondering if the county knows about this construction, because it's right adjacent to the county park, right? How close is it to the county park, you think?
I don't know. If it's within 300 feet, they would have received notice then.
Okay, so maybe not there. And just a question on that exemption. If it was a permanent building being put down there, then you would think there wouldn't be an exemption then?
If it was a
Permanent
I don't know
building,
that it matters so much. I mean, if there was a permanent building being proposed, we would be taking a much closer look at what's proposed. And not to
Yeah.
say that we haven't taken a close look, but it would be a different project. So
Yeah, I was just wondering about that exemption law, where a environmental study would be required.
it's non-specific. The fact of the matter is they can't disturb endangered species, whether temporary or permanent. It's got nothing to do with the, I mean, I understand what you're maybe saying.
Well, the law says that environmental, you can't exempt a project if there's rare and endangered species on the proposed project site. So that was my question.
It says on the proposed project site, or does it say
Right.
impact in such species?
Well, there would have to be a study before you could figure that out, I would think.
Well, what we've proposed as a condition of approval is, through the chair, that Mountain Watch staff and the city and the school get together on the property and avoid any of the endangered, any of the Licentia.
I understand that. I was just trying to get down to what does the actual law say?
Yeah, so that we don't have any, issue there.
So you don't think,
So, I just
so
want to get clear.
Is there a requirement to do an environmental study, is my question.
Well, in the interest of trying to work with the applicant and work with your interest as well, what we're proposing is to have a meeting and try and avoid any of the Licentia that's there.
Okay, that's what I was getting at.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Del. Thanks for coming up. Thanks for staying this long time. Okay, so do we have any other questions on
No comment.
side? Okay, so we're going to propose with the condition of,
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
I'm thinking about what she's saying. Sir, you can go to Parks and Wildlife and ask that question, because that's a very pertinent question also. I remember before they built the tunnel here in the Devil's Slide, it was stopped because of the butterfly. So you can also try it and ask them if there is any butterfly that is rare.
No, I think this will work.
Okay, thank you.
perfect, thank you, perfect. So at this time, I'd like to have a motion to close the public hearing.
I motion to close.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, perfect. So we'd like to recommend that the planning commission forward to the city council with the condition of approval that Mountain Wash and the school get together, talk about this situation so that we so that everybody will be happy, and the birds and the bees and the butterflies, everybody, we don't want to hurt anybody, or the plants. That could be taken care of, and so that we can proceed with this one-year project. And so we ask that the following recommendations be that we adopt the findings as outlined herein. May I have a motion, please?
I motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Affirm the environmental assessment. Motion?
I motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. And approve use permit UPR 423016182, subject to the conditions of approval outlined herein. A motion with the roll call, please.
I motion.
Second.
A second, okay, let's do that.
Yes.
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 Yes. Perfect. Yay. Thank you so much for staying. We don't usually have meetings so late, but we don't usually have people so that come to our meetings. Okay, so, and so at this time, is there any staff communication, any talks on vacation? Now that there's,
Madam Chairman, can I
Yes, sir.
dedicate this closing to birthday celebrant of Daly City, Fernando Montañez, and Cheryl Quasay-Quatar.
that is perfect, and I'd also add one more person, because I
Okay.
think I love birthdays. But I'd like to also adjourn our meeting with those birthdays tonight in memory of Mike Sims. Mike Sims was the supervisor of the street division and worked for the city of Daly City for 36 years. He was a strong supporter of the Daly City Host Lions Club and the Daly City Clean Community Committee, which I would love to see that one come back. So he and I were talking about that. The Daly City Clean Community Committee. They used to go around and send letters and say, clean up your yard, and that refrigerator doesn't belong in your driveway. Your Christmas lights should be gone, it's August. Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to say that he was a force and he was a volunteer and he worked for the city. So I'd like to have good thoughts for the family, his wife Ann, his sons, his family, for Mike Sims, so. Like to do that, and the happy birthday wishes are very nice as well, so thank you.
And also to the city staff here. I know I always believe you, that's why I always fight for what is you have been presented here in the council. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'd like to apologize for getting so emotional, but it makes me, we'll have another talk one of these days, so.
You have to
But
deal with
I
Ray.
apologize, but I feel very strongly about my position and what I have to do to speak for the people out there that are all probably wanting to get to sleep. So at this time, if it's okay with everybody, I'd like to adjourn the meeting.
I'm so moved.
Okay, and before I forget, thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Can't do it without you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care. I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.